Hey there, I want to welcome you to our program today. My name is Aaron Philippone. I serve as the lead pastor at Indian Rocks, and I'm so glad you've tuned in today. I pray that today's Bible study encourages you and challenges you as you pursue God's design for your life. So grab your Bible, let's dive into the truth of God's Word together.
Well, good morning, church family. I am a little bit biased, but very, very proud of Olivia. Contextually, though, for our church, that is one of hundreds of stories of life change. I want you to think about the young people that are under her influence in a classroom now. I want you to think about the teenagers that she's mentoring in our youth ministry. And it all started with the work of Indian Rocks Church about 4 or 5 years ago, helping Olivia come alive and recover and pursue God's design for her life. And now every area of her life and influence is thriving for His glory, and she's impacting others. There's always an exponential return when someone recovers and pursues God's design. And it's happening all over our ministry. So when you consider generosity and giving out of love to My Best Gift, that's what you're contributing to. You're putting gas in the tank of the formative engine of God's work here at Indian Rocks Church. And speaking of educators, we're headed into a season of Thanksgiving, of gratitude, and I'm really grateful for the influence of educators, not just at Indian Rocks Christian School, but the educators of any school that are represented here in our church family. If you're an educator, would you raise your hand and wave at me? If you're an educator in any school at any level, preschool, college, high school, can we give a round of applause for these folks? One of the joys of doing what Pastor Aaron has asked me to do here at Indian Rocks is that I get to offer myself as a friend and a resource to educators in our church family, regardless of what school you're at. So please consider me a friend and a resource. If I haven't met you, my name's Chris Hobbs, and I get to serve as the head of school at Indian Rocks. And Pastor Aaron was very, very gracious in his introduction of me. My father often says about really nice introductions, they're like perfume. They smell real nice, just don't swallow them. And so that being said, that brings me to this moment right here, because if you understand church life, we think it's critical that you're here. We love that you're here. If it's your first time here or your 100th and first time here, we love that you're here. But the Sunday before Thanksgiving, they look down the bench and they bring in the fourth string. Now, I coached basketball for a long time, and I knew this when I put a fourth string kid in. I knew that young person was going to give me two things. Number one, they were going to be totally focused. And number two, they were going to give me everything they got. We could be up 25 points with 3 seconds to play. They'd still be diving out of bounds, saving a basketball like it was the game-winning play, right? Folks, I'm the fourth string this morning. I can promise you, I'm really focused, and I'm going to give you everything I got. I just don't know how good it's going to be. So here we go, and I appreciate that. Because something else I learned about coaching when I had to put fourth stringers in, the crowd really cheered hard for the fourth string kid. So I appreciate you cheering for me right now as we spend some time studying God's Word. In July 2000, my wife and I, we got married in July of 2000, and we captured those memories on a VHS tape. That VHS tape is still at our house. The cover that it's in is very worn, very beaten up. I think we're probably to the place where if I were to handle the tape itself recklessly, it might disintegrate into dust in my hand. I don't have a machine to play that VHS tape on anymore. In that moment, though, we thought that advanced technology, that it was like really wise to capture the moment on such advanced technology. Fast forward, not too much further, to December of 2001. We're young, we're married, we're living in the Washington, D.C. area, and Jen is pregnant with our first child, due in January. So this is December, so we're near the end here. And we decided it would be a really wise idea to get a cell phone. I got a picture of the first cell phone that I ever had here that's up on the screen. I think it'll come up eventually. You guys remember that thing? So we get this thing, and man, you pay for the plan, you pay for the minutes. We discovered you could send like messages on it, right? But you paid like 10 cents a message, right? Which if we did that nowadays, we'd all need second mortgages to keep up with our teenagers and their text message habits, you know? But that's what I had. It was super wise, right? We're young, we're married, we're about to have our first, we need to stay in touch with each other, we're near the due date, and I'm coaching middle school basketball. I'm 22 years old, I'm a phys ed teacher and a coach, and so I get home late at night a lot. So we decided to get these phones because it's wise to stay in touch with each other. I'm driving home from practice one night in December, and the phone rings, and I'm driving a manual transmission Honda Accord in Washington, D.C. traffic, and the phone that was purchased for emergencies, that's a key point. We purchased the phone for emergencies because it was so expensive to use it for just emergencies, just emergencies. That thing starts buzzing on my hip. Remember, it used to hang on like a swivel? And so I'm fighting with the thing while I'm shifting. I'm trying to hit, like, how do I answer? I answer, Jen, everything all right? She says, yeah, could you go to McDonald's and get me an apple pie and French fries? Jen, that's not an emergency. Now, my wife is a Jersey girl. She yelled back very, very quickly, I'm pregnant with our first child. You better believe this is an emergency. I decided it would be wise to go to McDonald's and get the apple pie and French fries. The wisdom of a cell phone. Fast forward to 2008, the world continued to advance, and these things came out and changed everything. We wanted to stay connected. These things were mind-boggling. No keyboard? What? You can send messages? What? You can record your voice? What? It was mind-boggling. If you wanted to get access to one of these right now, you'd pretty much have to go to a museum because they're so obsolete already. But we thought it was wise to use that technological innovation to stay connected. My parents were in town just a couple weeks ago. My dad's 71. He spent his entire career in education. And I think he did that in part because he's a never-ending learner. My dad's always learning, always reading books. He's a relentless question asker. And so somehow in a conversation with my dad, I realized he didn't know what ChatGPT was. So I'm trying to keep my pops modern. So I get out his phone, we put ChatGPT on his phone. I start describing him like what you can do with ChatGPT. And my father really is a consummate learner. And so I'm leaning over his shoulder. He's got his phone. I'm leaning over his shoulder, like poking on his phone. And he smacks my finger. He looks at me and he goes, I do. And he's back down working on his phone on ChatGPT. And so I get him all set up. I get distracted. I step away. I come back to this picture right here. And my father is in a heated argument with ChatGPT about the worst moments in Philadelphia sports fan history. And he's so mad that ChatGPT won't reference the collapse of the 1964 Phillies. We were up 12 games with 13 to play. How could you not reference that? And he's typing it in there aggressively. And then he's mad, 2002, the last game ever in Veterans Stadium, the Eagles lose the NFC Championship to the Tampa Bay stinking Buccaneers. See, I threw you all a bone on that one, right? Like, he's so mad. And I'm thinking, what have I done? My dad's never gonna talk to my mom again. He's just gonna argue with ChatGPT about Philadelphia sports. We think it's wise, this new technological innovation, to pursue these things. Today I want to do a quick Bible study with you, not on technology, but on something that's deep down under the surface of the use of our technology. You see, technology is always one of the ways on a surface level that we try and pursue wisdom. And interestingly enough, we're going to talk about such a modern topic. We're going to look at a book that was written, some historians would say 4,000 years ago. The book of Job, J-O-B, as Pastor Aaron said. It's right before the book of Psalms. It was written about 4,000 years ago. Almost every biblical scholar would tell you it's the oldest book in the Bible. And if you understand the story of Job, Job in chapter 1 is identified as the most renowned, successful man in the known world. I believe the exact phrase is the greatest man in the East. Job had everything. He had family, he had possessions, he had money, he had wealth, he had land. He was a great leader of his home and family and his grown children. He had lots of grown children. He was wildly accomplished by any definition, and then unimaginable tragedy comes upon him under the direct sovereign control of God. He loses everything. The wealth, the land, the family. He loses all 10 children. Just catastrophic story. And the story begins to detail, after all that loss, Job's grieving, his seeking for answers. And in the midst of that, he's got 3 friends who I think from a sincere place try and give him wisdom. And it falls woefully short. And Job is responding to that in like chapters 26 and 27 and 28 to their woefully inadequate attempts to give him wisdom. And in Job chapter 28, he reflects on how short technology falls in the pursuit of wisdom. And so I want to read Job chapter 28 to you. I'm going to skip quickly through some of the verses, highlight some of the verses. I'll tell you which verse I'm reading as I look at it. So let's look at Job chapter 28 together, starting in verse 1. Surely there is a mine for silver and a place for gold that they refine. Iron is taken out of the earth and copper is smelted from the ore. Verse 3, man puts an end to darkness and searches out to the farthest limit the ore that is in the gloom and deep darkness. Verse 4, he opens shafts in a valley away from where anyone lives. Skip to verse 7. Job begins to kind of counter all of the technological advances of man that even animals can't keep up with. He says in verse 7, that path that no bird of prey knows and the falcon's eye has not seen it. Proud beasts have not trodden it. The lion has not passed over it. Verse 9, man puts his hand to the flinty rock and overturns mountains by the roots. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eyes see every precious thing. He dams up the streams so that they do not trickle, and the thing that is hidden he brings out to light. Verse 12, but where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Verse 13, man does not know its worth, and it is not found in the land of living. The deep says, it is not in me. And the sea even says, wisdom is not in me either. Verse 15, it cannot be bought for gold, and silver cannot be weighed as its price. It cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or sapphire. Gold and glass cannot equal it, nor can it be exchanged for the jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of crystal. The price of wisdom is above pearls. The topaz of Ethiopia cannot equal it, nor can it be valued in pure gold. From where then does wisdom come? And where is the place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all living and concealed from the birds of the air. Abaddon and death say, we have heard a rumor of it with our ears. Verse 23, a quick key verse. God understands the way to it, and he knows its place. For he looks to the end of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When he gave to the wind its weight and apportioned the waters by measure, when he made a decree for the rain and a way for the lighting of the thunder, then he saw it and declared it. He established it and searched it out. And he said to man, a key phrase here, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And to turn away from evil is understanding. I'd like you to take your listening guides there got a couple blanks for you. As an educator, I would encourage you, there's tremendous research that affirms the power of writing things down and how it sticks to your brain. So I'd encourage you to write down all sorts of notes as we talk. But here's your first notes. God designed you to seek wisdom. And I'd like to give two words that define wisdom. Knowing and enjoying. That's a partial definition, but if you want to write those words down. Knowing and enjoying. So God designed you to seek wisdom, knowing and enjoying. I think if I were to engage any of you in a conversation about technology, it wouldn't be too long until the name Elon Musk came up as maybe the foremost influence on technology in current times. Elon is created in the image of God, whether he knows it or not. We all are. And as part of being created in the image of God, he put it in our DNA to want to seek out wisdom, to want to know and enjoy, want to understand the best way to fill in the blank with whatever. That's part of our DNA. And Elon, he gives himself away that he's created in the image of God, whether he knows it or not. Consider this quote from Elon as he describes his AI efforts. He says, I'm trying to understand the true nature of the universe. And I'm trying to build a maximum truth-seeking artificial intelligence. He goes on in a later post on X to say, big part of my worldview is figuring out what's the meaning of life? What are we here for? What's going on? One of the things I want to encourage you to think about, when you think about God's unique design for you, is we get really, really focused. I think it's particularly sensitive in our modern times. We get really, really focused on who we are. And I think that's the second question that gets answered when you seek wisdom appropriately. I think the first question that helps to frame it all up in your mind is whose we are. You see, who we are, we get wrapped up in things like the prototype, the perfect example of, or we get wrapped up in the stereotype, the average or the expected of. Maybe the archetype. The archetype is like the hero of. We get really, really caught up in those things. But that's the second question. Who we are is the second question. The first question, as you're seeking wisdom, you're seeking the creator that designed you, the first question is whose you are. And so there's another type that I'd like to encourage you to make the first thing you think about. I'd like to encourage you to think about imago type. Write that down if you're a note taker. I-M-A-G-O, imago type. It's a play on the word imago Dei, which means we are uniquely created in the image of God. And when you think about imago type, you don't think about who I am, you think about whose I am. Second note on your listening guide. We seek wisdom. Remember, wisdom is knowing and enjoying. I haven't filled in that final blank yet, but this blank here, we seek wisdom in the wrong places a lot of times. We seek wisdom in the wrong places. Chapters 12 to 22, Job describes all of the ways that technology in that era and that culture has fallen short in discovering wisdom. In verse 14, he addresses how the miner and the mariner, with their technological advances of the time, they can't uncover wisdom. He says in verse 14, the deep says, he's referencing the mines, the shafts, the tunnels. The deep says, wisdom's not in me. The sea says, it's not with me either. He goes on to reference the technology, the advances of the merchants and how they assigned value to all of these incredible things that were being discovered. The technology of the merchant is insufficient to uncover wisdom. In verse 15, he says, wisdom cannot be bought for gold, and silver cannot be weighed as its price. Verse 16, it cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, or in precious onyx or sapphire. Job even goes into the destructive technologies of the day. In verse 22, when he says that Abaddon and death say, we've heard a rumor of wisdom. He's referencing the modern warfare of that time as insufficient. No matter how hard we try, we're not going to find wisdom in any of those types of things. Elon Musk goes on to again tell on himself about how the pursuit of technology falls woefully short of finding real wisdom. He says, addressing his desire to create life on other planets, to allow us to live on other planets. He says, there has to be a reason that I get up in the morning and a reason that I want to live. If I can't make that future, living on another planet, reality, I find that incredibly depressing. I bet you if you had asked Elon 25 years ago, he couldn't have cared less about living on another planet. He probably cared a lot about AI. Probably cared about putting satellites. What Elon is unveiling or telling on himself is he just can't find wisdom in the technology, the technological innovations. Let me give you 3 technological considerations for the holidays, because tech is going to get in the way of the holidays. It is going to get in the way. We got our kids, they're asking for technology for the holidays. We've got lots of technological distractions we've got to fuss with. We're going to get text messages that are going to come across weird, and we're like, whoa, did they mean to say it that way? We're on family group chats where people are wild in there, saying crazy things around the country. Technology is a part of our holidays, whether or not we like it or not. So let me just detour real quick, give you 3 suggestions on wisely managing your technology this holiday, and then we'll go back to Job. Number 1, think carefully about could and should. Black Friday is coming. The temptation to buy technology is coming. Just because you can buy it doesn't mean you necessarily should buy it. You see, we're in an innovative time. And during innovative times, the need is not newer innovation or newer invention. The need is actually to remember old principles. And so as you're thinking about technology this holiday season, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Number 2, be aware when technology is working against your imago type. There's that word again. I'll give you a perfect example. We are incarnate beings. God made us in the flesh on purpose. He sent his son to us in the flesh on purpose. We discovered how important it is to be in the flesh during the pandemic. When we probably had more meetings than we had before the pandemic, we just get on Zoom. But why is this working? Why is this not working? Why is this falling short? Why is this so challenging? Why is this hard? Why am I exhausted all the time? It's because we were fighting against our imago type. Incarnate versus disincarnate. So number 2, be aware when technology is working against your imago type. Number 3, quickly reduce or eliminate technology that hinders your relationships. Tony Reinke wrote a great little book called God, Technology, and the Christian Life. I'd encourage you, if this is an interesting topic to you, to read it. In it, Tony Reinke says, the most potent technologies require the most significant self-limitations. So just 3 pieces of advice for you as you go into the holidays, and technology will be all over the place. Let's go back to Job very quickly. Final note here on our listening guide. Wisdom is found in the fear of the Lord. In verse 24, Job points to the fact that the only place that you're going to find wisdom is God himself. He says in verse 24, it's because God sees it all. He says in verse 25, it's because God created it all. He goes on to say in verse 28 that God gives us access to wisdom through him. Dr. Glenn Sunshine is a pretty advanced thinker on these things, and Dr. Sunshine, anytime he uses the word reality, he's addressing the way God created things. You want to know how we see some things nowadays, and we think, how in the world did we get here? Because it hits our imago Dei that we are way off reality. Reality is actually God's created world, and it's the brokenness of sin in us that keeps us distanced from reality. But Dr. Sunshine says, hey, remember this. reality always bats last, and it's got a whale of a swing. And so when you're thinking about why would I want to investigate God as the source of wisdom, it's because reality is going to bat last. And it's got a heck of a swing. Now, this brings us all the way back to a technological innovation that proves the point of how short we can fall in the pursuit of wisdom and how God is over it all. Fast forward from Job 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years forward to the Roman Empire. The Romans had gotten really, really good at death. They'd figured out how to take those precious elements, those ore, those metals that could be harvested from the earth, and fashion them into nails for all sorts of uses. They figured out how to take those same metals and fashion weapons like the tips of a spear. They figured out how to take the wood, and carpenters could fashion things like a cross. And those technological innovations, which at the time were very advanced, created an execution experience that was meant to humiliate. It was meant to destroy. And yet, folks, that is not where wisdom lies. Wisdom lies in the one that created those that create technology. Wisdom lies in the one that created those that use technology. And when we think we're fashioning an excruciating, humiliating, death-invoking torture, it's what God used to hang his son on. And through the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, not to bring death, but to bring life. Not to bring humiliation, but to bring honor. Not to bring separation, but to give us a path to come together under the lordship of the creator of the universe. You see, wisdom is not found in technology. Wisdom is found in God.
Thanks for joining us today. If our Bible study made you realize that you want to take a spiritual next step, we'd love to help you with that. You can connect with us on any of our social media platforms throughout the week or visit our website at indianrocks.org. And if you want to hear more content like this, you can watch on demand on our website or anywhere that podcasts are available. I hope you'll visit us anytime you're in the Pinellas County area, and we want to connect with you. So from all of us, hope you have a great week in Christ.